Welcome to Harry Situation Podcast, where curiosity meets conversation. I'm your host, Harry Rogue, and I want to officially welcome you to the very first video on the Harry Situation YouTube channel. If you're new here, this show is all about curiosity, the real kind. The kind that makes you stop in the middle of the day and think, wait, how does that actually work? On the audio version of this podcast, we've already covered a wide range of topics this year. Everything from Ozempic and its impact on the body, to the ancient footprints of White Sands National Park, to the science of coffee, the mysteries of fungus, the debate around fluoride, and of course, sleep. Every episode is rooted in facts. No opinions, no sensationalism, just solid research, understandable breakdowns, and the occasional joke to keep us all awake while we learn about the things keeping us up at night. My goal here is simple: to keep you informed, ahead of the game, and actually entertained while you learn something real. Now, I know a lot of you love the audio format, and that's not going anywhere, but this YouTube channel adds another layer to the Harry Situation experience. For those of you who like to watch, interact visually, and get a feel for the guests and conversations, this is for you. From here on out, I'll be interviewing expert specialists and passionate enthusiasts on the topics we've already explored, and the ones we're about to. We'll expand on the facts, go deeper into the details, and shine a little more light on why those subjects show up in our everyday lives. Today's video is a perfect example. This is the follow-up to the audio episode Pillow Talk, How Lack of Sleep Can Break Your Heart. And joining me is Tucker, someone who's been guiding people towards better sleep for years. We dive into why sleep matters, why stress hijacks your nights, why your brain thinks 3 a.m. is a therapy hour, and how small changes can completely transform your rest. Tucker is a fantastic speaker, incredibly knowledgeable, and this conversation opened my eyes to a lot. I think you're going to enjoy it just as much as I did. All of the studies, sources, and references we mentioned, as always, are linked in the show notes, because around here, we don't just say things, we back them up. So thank you for being here for the very first Harry Situation YouTube video. Let's jump into the conversation, dive into the facts, and keep exploring the world one curious question at a time. This is Harry Situation. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this video version of Harry Situation. I am sitting here with Tucker, a dear friend, and what I would consider a better sleep expert than I am. And we are talking about all things sleep, which ironically, neither one of us has gotten good sleep in the last week.
It's been a bit.
Or so. Mind racing, life is happening. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to do this. We're going to go ahead and run through some of these things. First of all, I want to start with some basic questions about sleep. But before we get there, I want to introduce Tucker and a little bit about what he's done with sleep. Why is he a sleep expert?
Yeah, so I'm a bit of a self-help nerd. And so I've read many books over the past several years, several of them being on sleep. Within my professional career as well, I've been in the mattress industry for over a decade. And so I really knew that it would help my career to really understand sleep and how to get good sleep. And so I'm by no way am a doctor or anything of the sorts, but I am definitely a research nerd such as yourself.
Right.
And
we're nerds.
Yeah, I do it every day.
That's right. Well, you guys, you know how we like to do things here. We like to keep things facts. And also, please apologize my voice. I have been battling to get it back for the last week or so. Let's start with some basic questions. Okay. How much sleep do we actually need?
It's recommended typically between 7 and 9 hours.
Okay.
Right. And now I think a big question of that is quality of sleep, right? That's going to go into play, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit, but 7 to 9 hours is usually what's recommended.
7 to 9 hours. So for all of you guys out there that are getting like 4 to 6 hours,
you need a little bit more.
You need more sleep. You need more sleep. All right. Also, I definitely know people that brag about that all the time. They're like, oh, I only sleep for 5 hours and I have it. No, right?
It's a flex.
It's a flex.
Some kind of flex.
But you're just terribly and slowly getting worse at everything. That's what's happening. All right. All right. So there is a genetic anomaly which I ran into, which is really interesting. People with DEC2 gene mutation, which is a mutated gene, they can function perfectly fine on 6 hours of sleep, according to Science 2020. But that is super rare. It's like winning the sleeping lottery, if you will, right? Less than 1% of the population. So it's none of you guys. All right. Let's start with that. Okay, let's move on. So too little sleep can affect your memory, your judgment, your emotional regulation, according to Walker, 2021 says that. What other things can bad sleep do? Anything that we should really be aware of? I know you had mentioned some health things as well.
Yeah, lots of, I'm kind of, again, like kind of a health nerd. And so I love to talk about that. But ultimately, it's not allowing our immune system to catch up.
Okay.
Downregulation of the immune system. right? A lot of repair that should be happening within the body, within the brain, and a cellular function. Yeah. It's not happening.
Hence why I can't get my voice back without 8 hours of sleep, which I can't get right now. It will come back. I have a show tomorrow. All right, so here we go. Okay, so can you sleep too much, actually?
You can. Yeah, absolutely. You can sleep too much and actually have some negative effects. Just like anything, too much of a good thing makes it a not good thing, right?
Except for this podcast. Too much of this is great.
True.
Right? True. All right. Anyway. All right. So 9 hours of sleep. I actually heard that it leads to one of the resources that I found was UT San Antonio Health or University of Texas, San Antonio, 2023 said that it can increase the risk of heart disease and cognitive decline as well, which is really kind of nuts considering. So if you sleep too little, you're dying. And if you sleep too much, you're also dying.
You're dying.
Yeah. So it's a way to keep it interesting life.
But we're going to make it simple.
Yeah. Right. Just sleep 7 to 9 hours. That's it. All right. Neuroscientist Matthew Walker puts it like this. Sleep is the single most effective thing we can do to reset our brain and body health each day. Now, I know this seems like such a basic topic, but Americans sleep very little, right? I mean, just in general, I feel like we brag about not sleeping more than sleeping. Right.
No, 100%. I mean, it's not really a sexy thing.
Right.
Right. It's just not. Sometimes like we're losing our attention span so quickly and we like little flashy, unique things that make us feel unique. And sleeping is just not one of those things.
Sure.
Right. We've also kind of created this culture of this hustle culture where it's like, oh, you got to be grinding, you got to be hustling, you got to be going all the time.
Right.
And so we don't necessarily value sleep because oftentimes we don't see the importance of it.
Right. Let that push, go get it done. Yeah, I get that. Okay. So, all right, so we got the 8 hours thing, maybe even 9. But what happens when they sleep the right amount, but you still wake up tired? Is that a mental thing or is it?
That's pretty much what I think most everybody deals with. Okay. Like I would say that the majority of the population deal with that. Yeah. Right. So a lot of it comes down to the quality of sleep, right? Because when we sleep, we will go through different phases. There is a phase of light sleep, almost kind of like a preparatory phase. It's also nicknamed garbage sleep. Some scientists will nickname it that because nothing is actually really happening. You're just unconscious. There's not a lot of actual recovery or anything like that going on. And oftentimes we might sleep 7 to 9 hours, but our sleep is garbage. We're in so much of this light sleep phase that we're not actually
phase 1.
Yeah. We have a hard time getting down sometimes to those other phases where the actual recovery is taking place.
Okay, got it. So we're going to dive deeper into that too, of garbage sleep. We're going to talk about the phases of sleep as well. You guys, there's so much. I went into this with a rabbit hole, but we're going to keep it really, really, really simple and really easy for this time. I'm going to promise you we're not going to put Tucker on the hook too much here. All right, you guys. So sleep quality is what he's talking about. So like a noisy environment or a bad mattress, a bad pillow, maybe sleeping on the couch or something of that nature, right? So I guess it just keeps your brain up and like it's running laps all the time. So even if your clock says 8 hours and you're not getting the good quality sleep, like he's saying, or you're not sleeping in the right environment, your brain's still moving. All right. So inconsistent sleep schedules. I know we talked about this too, about measuring your sleep, right? Is there like, I mean, I know there's some tools like your watch and stuff like that, but what are you really looking for? Do you know?
Yeah. So there are several tracking tools on the market and stuff like that. Obviously going to like a sleep center and actually getting hooked up to a machine, like that's going to be your most accurate, right? Okay. And not a lot of us are going to go do that, right? And so there's simple ways, but tracking it allows you to see improvements. Right. Okay. So like sometimes I think we've all been at some point in our life a phase of yo-yo dieting where it's like, we try something, we don't see instant results. So we just give up on it because it must not be effective. Right. Sometimes we do that with sleep where we are so unaware of how we feel and how we're sleeping. It's like, we're not even aware of it. Yeah. And so unless you're aware of it, how can you track it and measure it to see if it's actually working? Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. I mean, I think it's an underrated metric really for our health, right? So we measure our, I burned this many calories or I ran this many miles.
Weight scale on every day.
Yeah. But we're not measuring our own sleep seems Actually, it seems kind of silly. Now you mention it.
Again, there's a balance to it, right?
Sure.
You can become obsessive to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, I did not get enough REM sleep last night. And my watch said this. You know what I mean? You can overdo it, but you could also just pay attention to how you feel. You could journal about it. You can track it, via your phone or a device or something, but just put it on the level of awareness and that will help it.
Oh my God. I've been journaling about my sleep, by the way, since you mentioned this the first time we talked. It is really weird waking up in the morning and then writing down what your dreams were and, how long you felt like you slept. It is so subjective. However, I do feel like it's a really good mind dump in the morning of what just happened while I sleep. So it actually helps me before I go to bed too, which we're going to talk about that as well.
Writing about it makes you more aware of it.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. So is there different tricks to fall asleep faster? I know like a lot of people go to bed, then they just toss and turn for like the next hour or so.
So for something simple, obviously that's quite complex and there's lots of things, but something simple that comes to mind is get rid of your stress. And there's ways to do that, but stress keeps us up, right?
Oh my God.
Throughout our entire day, we constantly have things to distract us, which is our music and our phones and our TV and our movies and just everything. So when we go to bed, there's no longer distractions.
Right.
And so now all of that stuff that we've been suppressing throughout the day now comes to the surface.
It's so quiet.
Right. And it's crazy because like our body, our subconscious doesn't know the difference between something real and something imagined.
Okay.
So when we think of stressful situations, when we analyze our day, when we regret something we did when we were 12 years old, whatever it might be, your body will react as if that is really happening again. That releases cortisol, more stress. And so your body is laying in bed with someone being hunted for sport. You've got all this anxiety and stress, and that energy cannot be used for quality of sleep because it's being used to survive and to analyze and to worry, right?
What was that movie where people were actually getting hunted? Was it The Ultimate Game or something? Or
they're like running out in the field or something.
They're hunting humans. I often have dreams of that nature.
It's happened a couple times.
It's terrible.
This was up.
Terrible. I never win those. You ever get those dreams where you like fall asleep and you're dreaming of something physically happening? Like, not that. I know what you guys are thinking, but like you're at a vending machine and you're trying to get something out of a vending machine.
There's no buttons and you're just
there's
like
no buttons. It's the most frustrating thing. And then you wake up and you still wish you had that bag of chips or whatever it is that you were trying to get. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I know your mind races at night and there is a replaying of every awkward thing that you do that happens usually around like 3 a.m. or so, where you just pop up and you're just like, it's like a highlight reel of the worst moments of your life or of your week, really. So I guess one of the things that we spoke about before was mind dumping, right? Writing down everything into your journals, basically everything that's happened in your day. Write that out. That can help lower your cortisol level for preparing you to go to sleep. Also, about not looking at screens and how blue light affects your melatonin development or your natural melatonin, right? So I know there's a timetable for that. And I've read somewhere that it was like 30 minutes. Is that? Yeah.
Recommended like in a perfect world, which the Western world is not, none of the world is, but you do 2 hours, 2 hours before you go to bed, you would get away from screens, you'd get away from really, really bright lights. You would kind of get your body prepared. Honestly, like if you can make that happen, congratulations. I myself don't even do that. So, we live in a world where we have screens in front of our face all the time.
All the time.
Right? So if you can't get away from them, throw on some blue light glasses. Out of all the things that I've read and tried and adapted and everything like that, that's one of like my top 3 to where I really, really started to see improvements in sleep.
Me too.
For sure.
I preach about this often. Not that I'm a pastor or anything, but I do preach about blue light blue blocker glasses all the time to people. I spend so much time on screens due just to the nature. We're doing either editing a track or you're doing this, what we're doing right now, or just, any number of things, writing a new script, whatever happens to be. It's so screen driven. I started noticing my eyes getting exhausted and tired. So doing that before you go to bed has to help. One of the reports I read from Science or Sleep Foundation said that 30 minutes of blue light can interfere up to an hour of your sleep time as soon as you lay down. So so if you give yourself, right up to 30 minutes, anywhere between 30 minutes before you lay down, that you're messing up for an hour process of your time, which is a long time considering we only have 8 hours, right?
Well, what's happening is that when our eyes perceive blue light, they think it's basically a version of the sun. And so our pineal gland is producing serotonin, which is the awake chemical. And we don't want that. We want melatonin to be produced, right?
Yeah. No, you mentioned this before. No, please go on. You said there's other receptors of light too,
so
right?
the same gland produces both serotonin and melatonin. Okay. So if serotonin is present, especially if it's high, melatonin cannot be produced until serotonin levels drop to 0.
Oh, so it's not like a balance.
Correct. Serotonin has to go all the way to 0 before melatonin can be produced.
Gotcha.
Correct. So then if we're watching screens right before bed, that increases serotonin. Right. So then serotonin, I don't know how exactly long, it depends on how long you've been watching screens, lots of factors, but serotonin has to drop all the way to 0 and then melatonin can be produced. And you might be 3 or 4 hours into your sleep before serotonin hits 0. Right. And that's garbage sleep. Yeah. Exactly.
So as soon as that switch happens over from garbage to, that's basically your body saying, okay, melatonin time. So I know a lot of people take melatonin to go to sleep. Is that, well, I guess what I'm saying is that healthy to do, or?
It's not for me to say because there's different scenarios with different people. Right. My take on it is it can be beneficial for some people, especially if you potentially have a sleeping disorder. Like, I think that you can take it to kind of help get you to where you need to be. It is not an end all be all fix. Because by taking it, you flood your body with it to the point where your natural production of melatonin decreases.
So your body's like, if I don't have to make this.
Because your body's like, oh, I don't need to produce this anymore because I'm flooded with it every single day.
It's just lazy.
Right. Really, so then if you ever stop taking it and you get off of it, your melatonin almost has to relearn how to produce. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. Actually, they were talking about that with cholesterol too. Like, about how if we eat cholesterol, our body won't produce as much cholesterol, which is a whole conversation for another day. But we're talking about sleep and we're going to keep it to this. Now, we talked about stages before. Let's talk about these stages. Now, I know there are commonly 4 stages of sleep, at least most accepted stages of sleep, right? So we talked about garbage sleep, which is light sleep. Stage 2 is stable sleep.
Different names for different terms, but it is a version of deep sleep. Yeah, different people will refer to it as different things.
So is garbage sleep like when your legs are like kicking and you're like jerking around? I hate that.
That happens to me all the time. All the time. And honestly, I'm still to this day, there's still so much mystery behind sleep and why things happen. I don't know for sure. There's lots of theories and ideas of why that happens. You can go study it and it's fascinating, but that happens to me all the time.
Oh my God. It's like I'm about to go to sleep or I feel like I'm dozing off and my body just pushes me off a cliff. My brain's like, go for it. Yeah, it's awful. All right. So stable sleep, something that your heart rate slows, your body temperature drops as well. And then you start to lose awareness, which is really important if you're like me and you are attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. You spend about 50% of your night's sleep in this stage, according to the Sleep Foundation. And then you have stage 3, which is deep sleep. And this is the physical recovery mode, which I know you mentioned before. We're going to dive a little bit more into this. You talked about muscle repair, hormones release. Realistically, deep sleep, I think you had mentioned this before as well, about the bodyguard in the brain, which I kind of want to dive into that.
Yeah, totally. And so deep sleep, lots and lots of benefits, right? We could have an entire podcast on just deep sleep and the benefits of deep sleep. But my favorite, the one that really stuck with me, the thing that really was highlighted was the repair of the immune system. Got it. Right? We live in a world where our immune systems are constantly being bombarded with chemicals in our food, just everyday things, stress, everything.
Right.
Deep sleep will help rebuild and replenish a lot of that immune system so that it can deal with what we're going to throw at it tomorrow.
You got to get some deep sleep. Really, it's important. So right after deep sleep, you have this whole, you have the REM sleep. Now, I read also, this is actually pretty cool, that our body alternates between deep sleep and REM sleep, give or take every 90 minutes or so, or something like that. But it's so subjective for individuals, right? But that's a good generality. So what's the difference between deep sleep and that rapid eye movement sleep, right?
Again, there's a lot of mystery with sleep. As far as studies show, as far as we understand, REM sleep is a bit more specifically for your brain. So like when we were talking about the blood-brain barrier, right? Right. So our immune system is the boss, if you will, of our blood-brain barrier, right? Our brain consumes about 20% of our calories.
That's a lot of calories, by the way. Honestly, you told me this before. And
a lot.
20% of your calories goes to your brain. All right. So you got to eat. You got to eat right. Anyway, go for it.
Sure, sure. So just through our normal foods that we eat, right? Mm-hmm. So like our Doritos and our Mountain Dew and our Little Debbie and all of those things, we're going to have so many different chemicals, different things that sometimes our immune system can become so taxed and exhausted that these chemicals can slip past the blood-brain barrier. That blood-brain barrier, think of it as a guard.
Yeah.
That stands like, just totally stands guard, does not let things into the brain that could potentially harm it. Sure. Now, if it becomes exhausted, it is possible that it's just so overflooded, it cannot keep out everything that it needs to keep out. REM sleep is when that quote unquote bodyguard gets to take a break, gets to take a rest. That's when the body's immune system can now start to work on the brain, remove toxins, remove heavy metals, things like that.
The rebuild side of it. So in loose terms, I guess what we're saying is deep sleep is more for your body on a muscular level or a cellular level. And then REM is more for the repair of your brain. And which makes sense, honestly, because, you've seen those movies where the eyes are like moving behind the eyelids.
So crazy.
They're just going nuts. Have you ever seen the movie Aliens? It's fantastic. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All right, you guys. So that's the stages of sleep. Now, something about sleep stages as well, which I learned recently because of this guy, is that if you interrupt stages, you have to start over. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. So there's something we commonly refer to as sleep disruptors.
Okay.
Right. So if you're in, let's say, light sleep and you've been in light sleep for a little while and you're just now starting to dip down to the actual quality sleep.
Sure.
And a disruptor kicks in. You're snoring, your partner's snoring, you're hot, you're getting your shoulder pain, your bed's uncomfortable, like neighbor's kid is screaming, whatever it might be. And you wake up and have to roll over. By that time we wake up, our brain waves oftentimes will go ahead and start elevating, and we now have to start at the beginning of light sleep and go all the way through light sleep again.
It's like, it's time to wake up.
100%.
Right? So like serotonin. Yeah. Or like when you hear something in your house and it freaks you out and then you like pop awake and you're like, what is that? And you think somebody's breaking in and it's just a cat or something outside and you can't get back to sleep. You have to start all over again. Stage one. Anyway.
So the goal for good sleep is to eliminate tossing and turning as much as possible.
Tossing and turning. So a sleep disruptor. That would be.
Yeah. If you want your sleep to be as uninterrupted. Sorry, I can say that, right? Uninterrupted as much as possible, right? A lot of that, the two biggest factors that I see just working in the industry that I see and whatnot is our bodies keep getting hot and that'll send signals to our brain to roll over and constantly toss and turn.
Yeah.
As well as pain. Like again, we have so much inflammation in our body that oftentimes or a bad mattress, other things where like shoulders hurt, hips hurt, things are tight and we're constantly having to adjust to try to get comfortable.
Yeah. I usually do we're going to talk about positions of sleep real quick. Okay. We're going to dive into that real quick, just because I've had this debate with so many people and I sleep on my back with my legs slightly elevated. And I've heard that's like the best way to sleep. Just because it's your spinal alignment and just the way you can breathe. And then my other go-to is sleeping sideways with a pillow between my knees, which I've heard is also a really good way to sleep. I am like the LeBron James of sleeping. So here's the thing. All right. Are there positions? I mean, really, I guess it just depends on if you wake up rested, right? There's no like right or wrong way to sleep.
The answer is yes and no. It's not necessarily a black and white. My advice is do what works for you, right? People need to find what works for them. If you have some kind of, disc issues in your back or something, if you can't get comfortable in a certain position, just do what works for you. Sure. Now, with that being said, as a general rule on paper, yes, sleeping on your back would be the healthiest way to sleep.
Okay. Now, there are some really crazy sleep disorders as well. Like we know about sleep apnea as well, and restless leg syndrome, which is actually a thing. They weren't just trying to sell you medication back in the day. I remember. Or were they? They were. There's all the Doritos you were eating and Oreos. And then, there's that. And there's also, I'm going to get this right. I'm going to get it. Narcolepsy. It's not the other one.
I'm surprised that came into my brain.
Narcolepsy, which is actually a thing, by the way. Narcolepsy is one of those things where you get these fits of wanting to fall asleep. And it is a thing. It's not something that, if you're driving and you're like, there's really exaggerated
It's like Paul Blart, right? Like the mall cop where he's like falling asleep after chasing the guys, right?
Right. Yeah, there's stuff like that, but it really is a thing. And sleep science is an actual field of study. So if you have any questions about your sleep or any doubt of how you're sleeping, if you're not waking up rested, consider the quality of sleep that you're having, and B, maybe go get a test. Go talk to a professional, not us. Just talk to a professional. Okay. All right, you guys. So let's talk about, we talked about screens. How about caffeine and alcohol?
So
the big three,
right? So as far as alcohol goes, there's a book that I would recommend called Sleep Smarter. I believe Sleep Smarter. Yep, Sleep Smarter. I believe it's Sean Stevenson that wrote it.
I wrote that down.
Did you write that down? Yeah, put that in the notes.
You told me that like a week ago.
Great book. A lot of...
I'm going to put that in the notes.
Yeah. So a lot of people, oftentimes when we drink alcohol, we feel sleepy or we feel tired, right?
Sure.
And so it's like, oh, it helps me sleep, right? That, yes, it can make you sleepy. It can make you tired. Studies again and again and again and again show that the quality of sleep is not there.
It's awful.
Correct. You are unconscious, but nothing great is happening.
Nothing great is happening. Right. So it's kind of like, I think I mentioned this in the podcast. So just to let you guys know what's happening, if this is the first thing that you're watching that is Harry Situation based, these are all based off of little snippets that we have on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast. All right. So one of the things that I mentioned is like that nightcap, that drink of a nightcap in there is basically like a hangover with manners. Like you're gonna have a hangover the next day, a sleep hangover, really like a sober hangover, because it doesn't do you any favors. Right. So alcohol, sleep smarter. Is that what we said?
Sleep smarter. Yeah. So if you're going to do your research on your own, which I recommend,
please,
right? This is a very, very helpful podcast for oftentimes people who don't want to do research, but do your research. That is a book that I've read like twice, 2-3 times. I love that book. Nice. It's not boring like you would think. And he's got some great advice.
That's awesome. Go figure, a book about sleep that's not boring. All right. One more thing. And I want to talk about the caffeine as well. We talked about caffeine. So I can't tell you how many times people go to dinner and then they have like that after dinner espresso or like, oh my God, cappuccino and all that stuff. And I am very guilty of this, drinking like an espresso martini or something of that nature, which is alcohol and caffeine. So apparently if you drink caffeine at 6 o'clock, it is still dancing in your bloodstream at 10 p.m. So 6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
100%. And that's
a half-life.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Minimum. Like right. it goes back. Yeah.
So that's just optimistically I bet the person that wrote that probably sells espresso martinis. That's what I'm thinking. Like I'm just drinking.
Laughing as he says.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like the same guy that came up with the diet pyramid. All right. I want to say real quick. We talked about sleeping positions and habits about sleeping as well. We talked about sleep disorders as well. Oh, insomnia. Oh, I forgot about that one. Insomnia. It's really based off of, stress is really mainly based off of stress related things, which we already gave you some pointers on how to deal with that. Like smell some lavender or some lemon. You had mentioned that as well.
There's a lot. Yeah. Journaling, meditation. Like there's a lot of things to control stress and inflammation. Like if we could get those two things at a very low levels, everything in life would just improve.
Let's stress that. Let's stress that. Yeah. What are the two things that we need to get focused on here to sleep better?
Get your stress lowered and get your inflammation lowered. Research both of those. Very important.
Inflammation and stress. Oh my God. Yeah. That's important. Honestly, this is like a life lesson.
I read this thing in a book and I'm not even going to quote it because I know that like, I'm probably not saying it 100% correct, but it's something like 90 to 95% of all diseases are directly connected to an increase of inflammation, very, very high inflammation, chronic inflammation.
So I take turmeric. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Turmeric, the orange stuff. I take that and I put that in my food and everything. And honestly, it's helped me a lot with my inflammation. I notice a difference, but I think we're talking about something a little different here though. I think, getting some stretches in. Also, don't fight sleep. You guys, if you can't sleep, get out of bed, stretch, do some writing. You have to invite rest in, apparently, not sit there and go to sleep and count sheep. Because that's just going to build your cortisol level up.
Body doesn't like that.
It doesn't like that. Don't fight your body. All right. Real quick, what are some really good, if you had to say some techniques just to wrap this up, right? So if there were two things besides the stress and the inflammation, right? Two things that you think are most important for our listeners to take away when it comes to sleep.
One is just take action. Oftentimes, so Dr. Joe Dispenza, look him up as well. Great stuff. He's not necessarily on sleep, but look him up. But he has a quote that says, in a world of information, ignorance is a choice, right? And so it's like, we have the information of how to be healthy, how to get in shape, how to get good sleep, how to make money.
I really like that. Can we do that again? Say that again?
In a world of information, ignorance is a choice. Love it.
That's brilliant.
Right? So all of this information's out there.
It's
right?
there.
Like you're consuming this podcast, but there's books, there's studies, there's everything.
Google it.
But if we don't take action, it's just information.
Right.
And information doesn't get us results. We want to actually take action. Sometimes that seems overwhelming because there's a lot. Go where how do they say that? Go with the low hanging fruit.
Sure.
Go with something easy. Go with something small. If throwing on blue light glasses is simple and easy, do it. If de-stressing and a 10-minute meditation before you go to bed, if that's easy for you to do it. Do what's easy, because if it's difficult, we have a hard time sticking with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically just do it, sleep. It's really, I know it sounds so simple. However, it is the most beneficial thing that you can do for yourself, your brain health, your body health, your sanity, your people around you as well. We will all be grateful and happy if you are well rested. That's all I'm saying. All right.
And I got a second one.
Oh,
I got my second one.
What's the second one?
Yeah. Okay. One last thing.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. No, we're not done. Go.
With stress control.
Okay.
Energy flows where attention goes.
Oh, yes. Okay? Yes.
Also, that's also Dispenza, right?
Yes.
But lots of studies and research, I think we've probably all heard that phrase, right?
Yeah.
When you lay down at night and there are no current distractions that you've distracted yourself with all day, you now have all of those emotions and thoughts and everything like that. If you lay in bed and you think about the stress of tomorrow and you think about the guilt of yesterday and you think about the things about yourself you don't like and about your life you don't like, your body will react to that.
Yes.
Stress goes high. Now, if you flip that coin and you go to bed, for example, with just allowing yourself to only think things you're grateful for. Your bed's comfortable. You have a super good roof over your head. You had a great dinner. You're going to bed full.
Yeah.
If you think of those things, different chemical responses will happen in the body, and you will watch yourself. You will watch your entire mood just completely shift to something more positive.
Oh, I love this. I love this because I've been doing something recently, which has really helped me. So you guys don't really know a lot about me, but there's some personal things that I'm dealing with, which has caused stress and a lot of sleep disruptors in my life. However, I have been doing this thing of this manifestation, if you will, of before I go to bed, and I give myself these mantras to say, and they are very positive. One of them is that, about love, and the other one is about, attracting positive things. And the other one is that, don't stress the answers. The answers are going to come when they need to come. And being able to say those things, and I know it sounds like hippie stuff, but realistically, it has really helped me get some sleep, which is desperately needed at this point. There are so many exciting things happening in our lives and so many positive things happening. And I don't want to end this on a foo-foo moment, but that is what it's all about, you guys. And if you don't sleep, you're going to be caught in a lot of hairy situations. So sleep. It's just that simple. All right. All right, guys, this has been Tucker. Tucker, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Yeah, this is not the last time we're going to see Tucker. We're actually going to nerd out on some other topics. If you haven't noticed, he kind of just likes to read and do a lot of interesting stuff. So stick around, you guys. My name is Harry Rogue. Thank you so much for watching. This has been one of the episodes on our YouTube channel, and we're going to keep adding more and more stuff. If you haven't checked us out online, check us out on Instagram. It is where we put up some fun facts and some other weird shenanigan things that are going to be coming along the way as well. Next episode is going to be on cows. So I'm going to try to do this same thing we're doing in a farm, which you should probably come to that. That's going to be fun. We're going to be on a farm, you guys. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Keep rising, stay curious, and stay sharp.